Hey guys, Michael here. Hope that you're all doing great today. I wanted to try something kind of interesting here today with all of the changes that Creative Assembly has been making recently to this game. I'm talking about, of course, the rework for the Tomb Kings and for the Lizardmen. But much more importantly, the AI changes that have happened. I thought it might be interesting to sort of reassess who are the strongest factions in the game in the hands of the AI. And now that I have become familiar with this mod, the Turn Skipper mod that I just did a video on yesterday, I thought it would be, we now have the tool to allow us to do this easily. I was tempted to say quickly and easily, but actually there was nothing quick about it. This actually took quite a bit of time to do. But what I've decided to do here, as you can see in the background, is I decided to, using the Turn Skipper, play the faction of Teclis. I wanted to pick one of the factions that I did not think was likely to end up being the strongest in the game, so, and kind of in an out-of-the-way place. So what we're going to do is we're playing as Teclis here. We're just going to go into our starting settlement. We're going to park there, and we're going to turn on the Turn Skipper, and we're going to crank it all the way up to turn 100, and we're just going to let the AI play this campaign. And the reason is to get just an assessment of what the strongest AI factions are. I should say what the strongest factions are in the hands of the AI, if that makes sense. Now, I want you to all, before you continue watching, those of you who I can talk into doing it, place your guess in the comments below. Who do you think is going to turn out to be, on turn 100, the strongest faction when we just allow the AI to play against itself for 100 turns? Anyway, I made my own guess. I thought that maybe not on turn 100, but I really thought that Grimgor was going to be the dominant force here for a while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this play through. I've gone ahead and told you who my guess is. Again, go ahead and tell me or tell each other what your guess is, and then go ahead and keep playing this video. I'm going to go ahead and take a break at level 50 just to kind of see where things stand at that point, and then we'll let it run all the way to turn 100, and we'll do a final assessment at turn 100 to determine who the strongest faction is. If you have any questions about this particular mod, I did just post a video yesterday that goes into more detail about exactly how this mod works, but it's pretty simple. All you have to do is make sure that you're inside a settlement, and then it does automatically just process through. It cancels out all the diplomatic offers that come your way. It just flows from one intern into the next. I did have a question when I was playing yesterday, and I ended up getting the answer to the question as I did this today, which is what the mod says is when you get a dialogue where you have to choose from different options, it automatically always selects the first option. Well, what I found out is with the High Elves, I wondered what would happen if the first option isn't available. For example, with the High Elves, you need to have a certain amount of influence. And if you don't have enough influence to choose that first option, I wondered what would happen. Well, I found out that, it actually will pause the game and force you to choose an option that you can choose. So not really a big deal. There were a couple times when I went and took a shower, I went and made some lunch, and I came walking back expecting 30 or 40 turns to have passed, and I found out that the game had paused to force me to have to do a dialogue choice. Not really a big deal. But anyway, there you have it. Now you know. So let's go ahead and jump ahead to turn 50. Now, as you can see, we do have a rebellion on our hands here at Fortress of Dawn. Not surprising, because, of course, all the corruption has taken over this province. And not only that, but the enemy characters, are causing a debuff to the public order as well. So not really that big of a deal, but that's why you're seeing the rebellion army right there. At this point, Teclis has leveled all the way up to level 4. not that big of a deal, obviously, but we do have 62,617 in our treasury, so just imagine how high that's going to get by turn 100. Probably be double that, in fact, roughly. So anyway, starting to scan around the world, and there are a few surprises here. Number one, this Tzeentch faction is still around, but Kairos is actually doing pretty well here. He's actually, I won't exactly say thriving, but I expected him, quite frankly, to have been wiped out by the Lizardmen by this point, by Oxyotl. That has not happened. We still have the Minor Slaaneshi faction down there to deal with as well. Now, I should point out this is not a perfect test, because one reason why Kairos is maybe overperforming my expectations is because normally he would go up against an active Teclis, and Teclis is not active in this campaign. Anyway, moving on up here into Warhammer Africa, into the Thunderdome area, we can see, all right, we're starting to see a pretty good candidate here for what might be the strongest faction in the game right now. It looks like Wurzag has a lot of territory, but we see a little bit of Krokgar over here. We've got Khalida, looks like, is still around. Interestingly enough, Wurzag has taken all of Thorek's territory here. So Thorek does not look like I'm not seeing him anywhere around. So yeah, things don't look good here for the dwarfs, or at least not for Thorek. Continuing to pan around here a little bit, we can see that looks like Khorne. Khorne has definitely done okay over here. I guess that's all Scarbrand, of course. And moving on up then into the mountains here. Okay, now we can see Thorgrim is still around. So at least one dwarven faction is still doing okay, it looks like. I see a little bit of Scrag over here. I think that's Scrag. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Scrag. It's either Scrag or Goldtooth. Make more sense to be Scrag. Anyway, we can see lots of territory here by Wissenland. That's not surprising to me. Wissenland has tended to be pretty strong since their rework. And I see a lot of Reikland as well. So obviously Imperial factions are doing quite well. It looks like Bretonia's still kind of kicking here. Nothing as dominant. It looks like so far the three big winners are definitely Wurzag, Elspeth, and Karl Franz, from what I can see so far. Let's just continue to pan around here and see if anything else jumps out at me. It looks like Norska's not doing great. Looks like Norska's been losing to the humans. Probably not real surprising. We'll see how Norska does after after Tides of Torment comes out. But yeah, it looks like, interestingly enough, we've got Karl Franz all the way up here in the Kislev. I'm going to presume that he confederated them, but it's possible that they got conquered and then he turned around and conquered. We can see, interestingly enough here, Throg doing pretty well here. He's got a big chunk of territory, big chunk of from Norska all the way down into, I guess that would normally be Kislev territory. And then we, let's just continue pan over here to Ulthuan. Mix of high elves. Ulthuan does look like it's pretty much mostly in the hands of the high elves at this point, but no single faction. It looks like it is continuing to divide between, we've got Ivris, we've got Eataine. I can see a little bit of Avalorn over here as well. So, yeah, it looks like, and a little bit of Bretonia. Okay, so looks like the High Elves are doing just fine, at least in terms of defending their homeland. As we scroll on down here into Lustria, it does look like nothing's jumping out as like a completely dominant. So the big three are still Wurzag, Wissenland, and Reikland. But interestingly enough here, we do have the Lizardmen around. I see Skrulk. I would not have expected Skrulk to even still be alive at this point, but interestingly enough here, it does look like he has lost his capital to the Lizardmen, so he probably is not going to last a whole heck of a lot longer. It looks like Gorok has got him beaten at this point, but, you know, good on my boy Skrulk for still surviving here on turn 50. Further up north here, it does look like it's just there's no single dominant faction here. We got a little bit of mix of between the order and the chaos. I do see Hexwaddle here, so I guess Mazda Mundi's doing okay. Again, not massive, however, as we keep on panning northward. Looks like Marathi is doing pretty well here, which makes me think the Dark Elves are having a good campaign. If Marathi is doing this well, let's see how Malekith is doing. Well, we still have the Wood Elves up here, but yeah, I can see plenty of Malekith as well. So it looks like here in Warhammer North America, we do definitely have the dominance here of the Dark Elves. Pretty much mostly Malekith, it looks like, with a mix of with some of Marathi thrown in. But here, all the way up here in the north, we still have a little bit of a division between some other factions. Some of the Dark Elves up here. We still have some minor Norscan factions up here. Kind of interesting. Vassals at this point, I would presume. Scrolling across the northern wastes here, it doesn't look real strongly like well, it looks like the Dark Elves are the dominant force, but there's not. Yeah, I was looking to see if there was a Warriors of Chaos faction that maybe was thriving, but there's really not. We've got Archaon. I can see Archaon in typical Archaon fashion. Unfortunately, he doesn't live up to his theme, which is sort of he takes a couple of territories and then just stops being aggressive. This is really, as far as I'm concerned, one of the biggest thematic mistakes that Creative Assembly has made in this game is that Archaon should be a lot more aggressive than what he turns out to be. But whatever. Anyway, looks like Kolek is still around. I don't see any sign of Tamarkan, but we still have, a bunch of different factions over here, so there's no clear-cut winner over here at this point. But keep in mind, we're only halfway to turn 100, so that may very well change by then. And as we keep panning on over here, we do see we've got Arbal, who is doing okay. It looks like no big surprise there. And we've got the Chaos Dwarves down here who are also, they look like they're doing a little bit better than okay. They tend to get stronger as the game goes on. But interestingly enough, Village is still around, but it looks like he's very, very small at this point. So he may very well be wiped out by turn 100. But moving on down then into the extremely, what's the right word? I was going to say profitable, but anyway, the rich lands of Cathay. It looks like both the northern provinces and the western provinces are doing quite well. Okay, so yeah, it sure looks at this point like the human factions, other than maybe Bretonnia. Bretonnia's doing okay, but definitely Cathay, both northern and western provinces, plus Wissenland and Nuln and Reichland are all doing really, really well, whereas amongst the Chaos factions, it's really only been Wurzag. I do see Kugath is still around. He still has a couple of the territories in the Dragon Isles, but not anything beyond that. In fact, he doesn't even have all of the Dragon Isles. So basically, I'm a little surprised that that Nurgle's not doing better, having seen no sign of Epidemius nor Tamarkan, and very little here being owned by Kugath. It looks like Nurgle has definitely not shined in this campaign. And meanwhile, here in the mountains areas, we can see that Greasus Goldtooth is doing pretty well. Not as big as any of the other really big ones at this point, but no sign of Grimgor at all, unless I'm just missing it. So, yeah, so much for my guess. I'm obviously way off on that, but all right. Anyway, I think it's time to go ahead and wrap up turn 50. Oh, there's Kugath all the way over here as well. That's kind of interesting. Okay, so Kugath did spread, but has obviously then turned around and lost some territory. And I see a lot of Skaven over here. So this could be Tretch, possibly. I don't know. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to turn 100. Okay, and so now we are picking up on turn 99, so it's going to finish here in just a moment. And quite interesting, as you can see here from the turn counter, at this point there are 62 factions remaining. I wonder whether in a normal game, had we not been in control of it, whether or not Teclis would have survived this long. I'm guessing probably not. But anyway, this was the best type of experiment that I could think of. So anyway, here we go. Boom, turn 100. We actually have no event messages at this point, but here we are sitting here now. Here in Fortress of Dawn. Fortress of Dawn has probably this region, or really the province, has rebelled against us constantly. I would say it probably rebelled 7 or 8 times over the course of the 100 turns or so. Anyway, we've obviously leveled all the way up here to level 9, but that's pretty irrelevant. Let's go ahead and get to the important thing here, which is I'm going to go ahead and toggle back off the Fog of War. I meant to do this earlier, but I'm actually going to change my settings here so that I can make the icons on the screen a little bit bigger for you guys. I normally play on about 110% UI setting, and anyway, it's probably a little bit hard for you guys to see in the YouTube video. So anyway, so a little bit bigger now. All right, so in terms of what we know, you can see already, we now know who the, no suspense at this point. We can see right here who the strongest faction in the game is. It is, of course, Wurzag, continuing to dominate. But quite interestingly, excuse me, we do have Kairos Fateweaver here is the 16th strongest. I would not have expected that. And then, of course, the minor Tzeentch faction that we started out at war with, since we didn't wipe them out, they're all the way up to 34. So, but they only have the 6 regions there, the 6 settlements. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look around. I'm going to go through everything in more or less the same order that I did before. So we'll start down here in our little corner of the... Michael, there we go. I was going to say, I thought I turned that off. Okay, so in our corner of the world, as we can see, Kairos Fateweaver has won the Southern Wastes down here. Interestingly enough, though, we still have the Slaaneshi, the minor Slaaneshi faction over here that still exists, and we can see this minor Tzeentch faction here as well. So this is Kairos over to here, and then this is him all the way up here as well. But we'll get over that in a minute. Here's the big one. Again, no big surprise based on what we saw at 50 turns. Yeah, Wurzag has continued to dominate. At this point, I think we can safely assume that everybody else who started in this area is pretty weak, but we'll go ahead and go through. We can see some Croesus Goldtooth down here. We can still see Thorgrim with a Karaza Karak here, kind of mixed in with Wurzag, who continues all the way up here. A little bit of Belegar over there. But yeah, let's go ahead and just come straight over here into the Empire. A lot more Belegar, actually. No sign of the Skaven at all. That's quite interesting. The Bretonnians have come all the way down here into Warhammer Spain, into Estalia. And if we come up this way, we can see Marienburg still around over here. But basically, for the most part, this looks like it's a split between Bretonnians and the Wood Elves. We have here continuing domination, it looks like, by Wissenland. Not really surprising as well, but Reichland is doing okay as well right here. All the way still up here into Kislev. So yeah, quite a successful campaign for the Imperial factions, it looks like. And then over here into Norska territory, we no longer see any sign of Throg at all. Looks like he's gone, so this is definitely an Order-Tide victory, it looks like. But we'll get to the rest of the world here in a moment. But yeah, we got lots and lots of Wissenland and Nuln up here, and even a little bit of Bretonnia up here. So, and who is this? This is just, this is Wulfric. Okay, so Wulfric has a little bit of territory up here. So we do have a little bit remaining here for Norska, but very little. I have to think that they're probably not long for this world. Bretonians have taken Albion. Okay, so let's take a look over here at where. Let me get my bearings here. Okay, so here's Ulthuan. It does look like complete domination by the High Elves, as we would expect. So it's still divided up, though, between the different factions here. So we do have Eataine here. We do have Illyrian. We do have Ivris over here. We do have Avalorn as well. So pretty much all your High Elves are represented. Got a little bit of Bretonia over here. Interesting, but no real big surprise there. Let's see, which direction did I go in last time? I think I came down this way into Lustria. So taking a look down here, we've got, here again, as I mentioned before, we've got Kairos Fate Weaver still doing okay here. Surprisingly, I would not have expected this. Skrulk is still alive, and in fact, it looks like he has recovered. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. He's recovered his capital here of Oixel. So yeah, not at all what I would have expected in my predictions. But anyway, I'm happy. My boy Skrulk doing okay. Not thriving exactly, but at least still around. Rakarth over here as well. Doesn't look like a whole lot has changed for Rakarth throughout this entire campaign. We do see now plenty of... Okay, the Blooded Wanderers is this. This is Skulltaker, I presume, right? So I forget what our ball is called, but this would make a lot more sense for it to be Skulltaker. So clearly, this is probably why Skrulk is still around, is because, the Chaos has done much better down here in Lustria. There's no sign of the Lizardmen at all. So much for the rework, I guess. Well, it's not like the oh, I shouldn't say no sign at all. Here we do. Here we go. We do have one sign right here. We've got Wardens of the Living Pools over here in the Blood Hall. So there you go. There's your one and only Lizardman faction down here in Lustria. So we have Thousand Moss. So this is Rakarth over here. We've got a little bit more Lizardmen. So again, we've got... I assume Hexwaddle is Mazdamundi, would certainly make sense. I don't play Lizardmen enough to know my Lizardmen faction names very well. We do, interestingly enough, we've got Mother Stankia here. So she's doing okay. In fact, Marathi looks like she's been kind of eradicated here. That's a surprise to me. If we come up here, yep, it could be that Marathi's been confederated by what's his name? Why am I drawing a blank on Malekith? So as you can see up here, we've got Nagarin doing okay, doing better than okay. Got plenty of territory all the way up to here. This is all Nagarin up here. So, okay, yeah. So let's go ahead and just check the rest of this out. We've got the Drowned here, so Sarlastra is here. I don't see any sign of Elithanar, so it looks like he's definitely gone. All right, so let's just swing across the northern wastes now. We still have a little bit of Warriors of Chaos up here. We've got a little bit more of Wulfric. Interestingly enough, we have Wissenland and Nuln all the way up here. So she's probably the second strongest faction in the game, would be my guess. All the way up here. Very interesting. Reichland is up here as well. So yeah, Ordertide has rolled through a big chunk of this campaign. We do still have Warhost of the Apocalypse. So Archaon does still exist. I don't see his portrait, however, so I don't know where he himself is. We can still see Arbal is around. We've still got Goldtooth up here. We'll get to Goldtooth in just a second. Chaos Dwarves over here, but looks like the Chaos Dwarves are being challenged here. We still have Village down here, pretty small, but he's still around. And then, of course, as we get into the big guns down here, we do have... Wow, look at all of this Cathay. So this is all northern provinces up here, and then we've got the western provinces down here. So pretty much the whole west and south is the western provinces all the way down to here, where we now have a little bit of Balthasar. So definitely Ordertide in everywhere except for Lustria. Does Kugath still exist? No. Kugath has been wiped out by Goldtooth. And is that it? Have I? Yeah, I think that's the whole world. So there you have it. I shouldn't say Lustria only, because obviously down here in the what do we call this? The Thunderdome. So Warhammer Africa here is obviously all belonging to Wurzag. And then Lustria over here is divided between a couple of factions, but it looks like Skulltaker is the strongest. But everywhere else, well, and we do have Malekith up here. So everywhere else, though, it looks like the order has been rolling. So we don't have a conclusive answer, because even though Wurzag is definitely the strongest in the campaign right now, I think if he ends up having to fight the combined forces of Wissenland and Reichland and Cathay, he's probably gonna lose that fight, I would imagine. But I don't know. Anyway, I thought it was interesting. I hope some of you thought it was interesting as well. I wonder if it breaks any preconceived notions about which AI factions are going to thrive. It certainly did a little bit for me, although nothing earth-shattering. I'm certainly not surprised that Wurzag is doing well. I am a little surprised that Grimgor didn't do better. But anyway, let me know what your own thoughts are. Yeah, anyway, I'll go ahead and leave it at that. Thanks everybody so much for watching and listening, and I will see you all in the next video.